Hi everyone. So today we are going to do the topic of sentences and phrases. We are going to see what a sentence is made up of and what exactly is a phrase and what conditions are there for a group of words to be known as a phrase, right? So let's get started. So initially when we talk about a sentence, it is made up of two things: a subject and a predicate. Now, what is a subject exactly? So, subject tells us who or what is performing the verb, right? If there's any sentence or anything is happening, so to whom it's happening, right? It can be a person, it can be an object. So, basically, it's who or what is performing the verb. Now, the subject typically comes before the verb in a sentence, right? For example, we have over here Jake plays tennis after school. So, over here, Jake is the subject, right? Because this is whom we are talking about. Jake is the person who is performing the verb. And considering the predicate. So, what is predicate exactly? So, predicate tells us something about the subject, right? So, it's usually what the subject is doing or what is happening to the subject. So, of course, it will include verb, right? So, the predicate must include a verb which explains what the subject is doing. So, for example, in the same sentence, plays tennis after school, this whole will be our predicate, which tells us that what the subject is doing. That is what Jake is doing. Jake is playing tennis after school, right? Now there's a tricky part over here. Now in some sentences, like the first one that we did, there is only one subject, but that's not true for all cases. In different sentences we can have multiple subjects, right? So in the second sentence, as you can see, so over here we have Jake and Amy. Now two people are there, so we'll say two subjects are there, right? But the formal term with which we denote this is known as a compound subject. Okay, so compound subject means when there is a more than one subject. And looking at the predicate again, plays tennis after school is the predicate. Now you might think, if the subject can be compound, why not the predicate? And of course, a compound predicate is when a sentence tells us two or more things about the same subject. That is the very important part, that the subject should remain same. For example, Jake, which is the subject over here, plays tennis after school and eats ice cream. Now we have two predicate, that two things that the subject is doing. First is he's playing, second is he's eating. So over here this will be known as compound predicate. All right. Now in a sentence there can be multiple subjects and multiple predicate at the same time. For example, our fourth sentence, Jake and Amy play tennis after school and eat ice cream. So in this sentence we have the compound subject as well, and we have the compound predicate as well. All right. Moving on. So here is a little test for you. So is it a subject or predicate? So let's go on them one by one. So the first one is went to the garden to play. Of course, it's a predicate because it is telling us a verb, an action which is happening. Second one, the dancers, it's a subject. Amisha and Yatin. Of course, we are talking about people, they are proper nouns. Subject. Ran to the ground. Again, it's a verb, it is telling an action, so it's predicate. Sally and Adam, like same as Amisha and Yatin, subject. Asked to bake a cake, predicate. Alright, so we can also think of it as subject or predicate, and to make it more interesting, you can think that which of them were compound. For example, Amisha and Yatin, it is a subject, but also it is a compound subject because two people are there. Same with Sally and Adam, so it's the compound subject as well. whereas all the predicates are the simple predicate which are telling only one thing. Now next, and the important thing, verbs and linking verbs. So you can identify the two parts of a complete sentence by finding the verb or the linking verb in a sentence. So verbs can be action words, right? For example, we have Kelly walks to the school. Zayan is tall. But there is some difference between verbs and linking verbs. A linking verb does not describe the action, but it connects more information about the subject to the predicate. For example, walks is a verb over here. It's a proper action word which is telling that what Kelly is doing. But when we talk about Zayan is tall, so is a linking verb. It is connecting more information to the subject. For example, Frank gave his dad a gift. Gave is the verb over here. And the pizza was delicious. Was is the linking verb over here. Right? Moving on. Coming to the phrase. Now, what is a phrase exactly? Now, we talked about subject and predicate. What the subject and predicate was doing, it was dividing the sentence into two parts, namely subject and predicate, while overall it was the same sentence. Now, when we talk about phrases, we don't divide the sentence in a particular subject or the verb matter, but a phrase is rather a group of words that form a meaningful unit within a sentence. Now, this can particularly be present here in the subject and predicate, or just in the predicate, or just in the subject. There is no line of marcation or division which is separating the phrase in a sentence. It can be anywhere. But one more important thing, that it should form a meaningful unit. Whatever phrase that we are using, it should be meaningful. If it's not making sense on its own, then it's not a phrase. For example, Alex loves to hang out. Now over here, to hang out is a phrase. Next year, Anne will come here. So next year is a phrase over here. And also, like I said, phrases can be present anywhere. So will come here can also be regarded as a phrase. They were walking very slowly. Here, very slowly is a phrase. The book you gifted me was very good. And lastly, the cat is sleeping under the table. So under the table can also be a phrase. So if a worksheet comes, or if you are asked any questions that whether this group of words is a phrase or not, so you can quickly see whether it's forming a meaning or not. For example, if the word is to be quiet, so you can quickly make a sentence to check whether it is making any sense or not. So if you make any sentence like, I asked her to be quiet, so it's making sentence, we can use it in a sentence, so it is a phrase. But whereas some words which do not make any sense, for example, on, in, box. Now, no matter how hard you try, you can't make a meaningful sentence using this phrase because this phrase itself is not meaningful. So it won't be a phrase. So that is the key to understand whether a unit of words is a phrase or not. Now in phrases also we have a lot of types: noun phrases, adjective phrases, adverbial phrases, prepositional phrases, conjunctional phrases, interjectional phrases, and of course our verb phrases. And we have a separate topic of phrasal verbs as well. So all these will be covered in the next lesson. I hope you learned something and it helped you. Thank you.